Okay, so hi, I'm Natasha. Welcome to our big year. I have been birding before I knew what birding actually was. I'm originally from New York, and I'm here in Tallahassee doing grad school at Florida State University, and I study the relationship of between avian diversity and species richness and plant diversity and species richness.
And I'm Robert Gundy, but I go by my last name, Gundy. And I'm a Florida native, and I went to FSU with a biology degree, and now I work for Florida Natural Areas Inventory, which is part of FSU, and I'm a biologist there. I do all sorts of surveys, plants, birds, actually very few birds at FNA. Yeah, invertebrates and invasive plants, rare plants, herps, pretty much everything. And I've been birding seriously, actually throwing myself into it since about 2010 when I took ornithology at FSU with her now advisor.
Yeah, before we get started, actually, I just wanted to make a note that while we were setting up, one thing that he did was he closed the window blinds because he's like, you're not going to be birding while we're doing this presentation, okay? So on that note, let's get started.
The bird feeders are right out the window.
Yeah, and I'm always like, what's there? Oh, okay. Okay, slide's not moving yet. There it is.
All right, so starting with our first winter. So, since the big year has gone by calendar year, we get 2 winters to be birding and getting winter birds.
So we really didn't start the year with the decision that we're gonna bird, like we're doing a big year. That was not the thing that we were thinking about. We were actually out camping in the Everglades and for New Year's. And our first bird was a black-crowned night heron, and that was at 12:01 a.m. And so although we weren't really birding that day, we woke up and we ended up with 61 species. We're really light birding, just enjoying the Everglades.
Yeah, we weren't big year birding. We were
birding, but not big year birding, exactly. And then next thing you know, after 61 species, we have the American robin being our 100th bird. And so we have just a silhouette of a random bird, because this is something to note that if you are ever planning to do a big year, make sure you take pictures of common birds because we have no pictures of American robin, cardinals, or anything that's common. So just FYI, don't take common birds for granted. Okay, so this experience here was really amazing. So Gundy was out doing field work in Paynes Prairie, and so he invited me to come out to, just be out on an airboat and take photos and recordings. And he was doing an invasive plant survey, but also a survey on snail kites. And we saw a lot of really cool things that day, but there was at one moment in time, oh, by the way, we were on an airboat. We were in an area in Paynes Prairie that most no one, very few people
have ever been to, because it just wasn't accessible in the past.
Yeah.
When it was a prairie and not back to being Alachua Lake.
Yeah, so that's why he was like, okay, you have to come. So I was like, okay, I have to go. So we're out there and he's doing a survey, and next thing you know, there's this part of the prairie that we ended up turning into this area of a bit of open water, and it was amazing. It was almost like a tornado, a gentle tornado of snail kites everywhere. They were hunting, they were foraging, and there were juveniles there that were just calling. It was amazing. And he got these really great photos, and I got this really nice recording of a snail kite, and pretty surprised at what they sound like. Cool. Okay.
So we really started the year off, since we weren't doing a big year. We were going after tropical birds down south to boost our state species list and our life list. And so we started down in the Everglades area. So we got brown-crested flycatcher at Lucky Hammock. There was a Lasagras flycatcher at Everglades National Park, just a mile away. So we were able to get that too. And then once we already were into the big year, in early February, I think it was, a thick-billed vireo got reported from Long Pine Key, and we drove overnight down to the Keys on a Friday night to go get it. All of our birding, by the way, for the big year happened during the weekend, except for like Christmas break.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like we jet down there, and that thick-billed vireo stayed there for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
so we jet it down overnight for no real reason.
Yeah, there was no reason to just be completely insane like that and drive overnight to the Keys. And also, FYI, if you're ever gonna do a big year, don't live in North Florida. I mean, just don't. Because it is
boo-boos. Hi, animals.
Oh my God.
Let me just see if I can mute that.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, I think somebody's mic is unmuted. Okay. Okay.
So another set of winter rarities that we started chasing after when we had decided, okay, we're doing a big year, is early on there was a Hammond's flycatcher at Corkscrew Swamp, and it had been previously identified as a least flycatcher. And then another birder, he likes to go in and double check flycatchers on eBird. And so somebody had a recording, and he managed to figure out that that flycatcher was actually Hammond's, which was a second or third state record. And so we were super lucky that he went mining through eBird data to find this rarity that he hadn't actually seen himself before.
Yep.
There was also a Heerman's gull at Lake Worth Beach. And Lake Worth Beach is a place that at the pier, like I grew up there fishing. I was there, you know, I probably spent 200 days there as a kid. And so it was super cool to have this bird from California at a place I grew up. And so if you actually look at the very top of the photo on the top of that building, that Heerman's gull is staring down at us as we take that selfie eating lunch.
Selfie with a Heerman's gull.
And that's actually the best photo we got of the bird, because we were so hungry. We saw the bird, took one photo, went to lunch, and then the bird joined us for lunch.
Yep. FYI, if you're gonna do a big year, make sure you have snacks in the car all the time. Things get crucial when you're hungry. So this was a lot of fun. We got word about a guy who has this amazing hummingbird yard, and he basically gets regular visits from rufous hummingbirds and black-chinned hummers. And, you know, we reached out to him, actually he reached out to him, and he gave us permission to, you know, come to his yard super early in the morning and sit and wait for these fantastic hummingbirds to show up. And so we got the rufous hummingbird there and a black-chinned hummingbird. And that's one thing about the big year, like we started making connections with people, and we just got to meet some really nice people throughout the year. I mean, welcoming, even one person gave us a doggy bag, like, okay, go on to your next bird, here's a doggy bag, here's extra snacks. You know, so it was just like, there's so many nice people in the birding community that we met on this journey. So that was really cool. And then the Vermilion flycatcher, we got really lucky. So like I said, I'm from New York, so I don't really know the history of the Vermilion flycatcher here, but from my understanding, it was coming to St. Mark's for about 10 years.
Yeah, for about 10 years or so.
And so,
every winter.
Yeah, so every winter for about 10 years, and we got to see it in 2020, of course, but that was the last time it was seen. So we got really lucky with that. Hopefully the bird
never came back.
We don't know what happened to him or her, or him actually. Okay.
So another set, so those were Western birds, and for the birders that were really out there during 2020, it was an insane year for Western birds. And then Northern birds is another focus we have to do during the winter. So there was a Nashville Warbler in a yard in Tallahassee that was just spending the winter there. And we were actually, we saw it was reported in a neighborhood, but it was kind of a generic location for the neighborhood. So we're walking around wandering the neighborhood, and a couple walking their dog come up to us and, oh, have you ever seen a Nashville Warbler? That's what we're looking for. They invited us into their yard, and so that was great. We also jetted after work to this black-headed gull at Okaloosa Holding Ponds, which is about 2.5 hours west of us. And that was the only black-headed gull seen for the year. And it's not even an annual bird. I think they're less than annual in Florida. So that was a really good rarity. And on one of our many South Florida loops, we picked up this snow goose at Myakka River State Park. Normally we would see tons of these at St. Mark's, not tons of these, but normally they'd be pretty predictable at St. Mark's. And that winter, it just didn't happen for us. And so we ended up coming down to Myakka River to see that snow goose. And so, you know, the end of January comes around and we're like, we have 200 birds already? That's crazy.
Yep.
Like, we felt like, man, we must be doing really good. Like, that's so fast to be at 200 birds. And so we were really motivated to keep moving. And so Western Sandpiper, you see there, that was our 200 bird on Honeymoon Island State Park.
Spring migration. Okay.
So we just wanted to share our favorite migrant traps with everybody for spring migration. If you don't know what a migrant trap is, it's a location usually by the coast where birds that are flying across the Gulf Coast, they hit bad weather. And so they just drop out of the sky, literally, you can watch this happen, onto the first piece of land as they're coming across the Gulf of Mexico headed north. And so these are some of the great spots to be catching all sorts of cool migrants. St. Mark's here in the Panhandle, Bald Point.
I love Bald Point.
Yeah, Bald Point is where we picked up most of our migratory birds this year, because right during migration, COVID hit, all the state parks are closed down and lots of places are inaccessible, but there was this street corner outside of Bald Point where we had lots of birds. Another great one was this Okaloosa Veterans Park.
Great park.
Tiny little park of coastal scrub in the Panhandle. I mean, it takes 15 minutes to get around the whole thing. And we picked up dozens of migratory birds there. Fort DeSoto is very well known for being a migrant trap in Tampa. St. George Island is another one here in the Panhandle. Eleanor Clapp Phipps is a local city park in Tallahassee. Fantastic for migrants that really like hardwoods, great for thrushes in particular. And we had never been there before, but Leftis Key in the kind of Sarasota area was a great spot for migrants. They were all over the sea grapes along the beach. So you get a beach day and birds.
Yep. So yeah, Okaloosa's Veteran Park in Okaloosa was definitely one of my favorite migrant traps because of one of the things that he mentioned, which is that you can go around the entire thing in like 15 minutes. And there are so many fantastic birds there. So we got black-throated green warbler there. We got bay-breasted warbler, cerulean warbler. We got warbler's neck. But actually at that park, there are a lot of live oaks. So the warbler's neck was not as bad as it can get. Yeah. And then also we had a worm-eating warbler and golden-winged warbler, which was fantastic. The prothonotary warbler is actually from Otter Lake here. It's a little kind of secret park and also part of St. Mark's, and it's from Otter Lake. And that was it was really nice because there are quite a few of them, and right in front of your face, really visible. This Kentucky warbler, we got this at Clapp Phipps Park, which is here in Tallahassee. And it was singing its butt off, okay? So we got to the park and, we heard it was there. We didn't find it. Thankfully, another birder actually, found it. So we get to the park and we start walking down the trail and we hear it in the distance. And next thing you know, we get right up on it. It wasn't moving too much. And I was able to get a really, I think, a really decent recording of it. Once again, in Okaloosa, you got a Philadelphia vireo and a scarlet tanager. And you can
So bank swallow is a bird we got at Okaloosa holding ponds. And I don't know about you, but I think that's the only bank swallow I've ever seen standing still, not just flying. So that was fantastic. That bobolink is actually at Stillwater Wetlands there in Painesville.
Yeah.
And then this Connecticut warbler, we actually saw 5 Connecticut warblers in 7 days. Neither of us had ever seen a Connecticut warbler before.
Yep.
We got one at Lido Key. We got one at we got 3 in the Sarasota area, I think it was. We ended up getting another one in Palm Beach County, which I think is where this photo was taken. And we actually met Richard Crosley, the author of the field guides there.
That was great.
And so we arrive at the parking spot, and he has a van that has like the field guides, like a magnetic vinyl thing on it or whatever. And so we knew, oh my gosh, Richard Crosley's here. So we brought the 5-pound Crossley guide into the park in our hands so that if we happened to run across him, we could get a signature. We did. And he was very nice, and he signed our book for us. And then he completely laughed at us for actually carrying his book into the field.
It was very funny.
And then the Magnolia Warbler was a really pretty, very nice cooperative bird on Lefis Key. Here's some more non-warblers from spring migration, yellow-throated vireo. This is really cool that we have a Swainson's and gray-cheeked thrush next to each other. That's a pretty rare event to see them right next to each other like that. Neither one is particularly rare, but together it was really cool. And then this was our 300th bird of Erie. Why don't you take that one?
So yeah, number 300 of Erie. And so for me, a Erie is really kind of a special bird. Unfortunately, I don't have a recording of it, but the song of a Erie is definitely one of my favorite songs. Until I met the hermit thrush, I always say, and then the hermit thrush became my favorite singer. So yeah, this is bird 300 for us. And we're gonna move on to summertime. Okay, so the Dry Tortugas. This place is amazing. If you have not gone to Dry Tortugas, you have to go. So, you know, for me, it was an extra magical experience because, you know, growing up, I used to watch a lot of nature programs, and, you know, I would see birds like masked boobies and brown boobies and, you know, magnificent frigate birds on television, watching nature on PBS. And you know, at the time, I thought, you know, these are just TV birds. Like, there's no way that I would ever see these birds in real life. And then so, like, when we went to Dry Tortugas, it was especially magical to me because it was like childhood dreams coming true, you know, to see these special birds. And so we ended up, of course, we got the ferry there. We birded on the way there. It was really fun also because unexpectedly there are a lot of other birders there. So, you know, it was during COVID and they had shut down the ferry, and it came to a point that we almost thought that we were not going to be able to go. But we ended up going, and I guess all the other birders were like, okay, this might be our one and only chance. And so there were a lot of birders that we knew there. So that was really fun. And so we have the city tern and the brown noddy, which is, you know, both beautiful birds. And this great photo of a black noddy on the left and a brown noddy. This photo is really great because you can see the differences between the both of them. I don't know if you want to say more about this.
So for those who don't know, brown noddies nest pretty regularly on islands around Florida, but black noddies do not. They are normally out towards like the Pacific, I believe. And the only place in the continental United States to see a black noddy is sometimes at Dry Tortugas. And we actually had a friend who was doing a lower 48 big year. He went there the weekend before us, and he actually missed the black noddy. And it actually landed right in front of Natasha, and several of us were standing there like, with binoculars up, where's the black noddy? Where's the black noddy? And so, somebody who didn't have binos up, our friend Kevin, was like, it just landed right in front of you.
Oh, this is a fun little story too.
That same friend Kevin, later on in the day of Dry Tortugas, is up on top of the fort at Dry Tortugas. And I'm walking down below, and so I asked, I was like, hey, you guys see anything cool from up there that I'm not seeing down here? And he goes, oh yeah, there's a short-eared owl over here in the bushes.
I was like, what?
And I laughed it off and just kept walking. And then I thought to myself, I gotta ask if he's joking or not. So I did. I was like, Kevin, you're joking about the short-eared owl, right? He goes, no, it's literally, it's down here in the bushes inside the fort. What? And so we go inside, and sure enough, it's sitting there under a softball meadow, just staring at us like, what are you guys up to?
Yeah, like, what do you want?
And we had spent a bunch of effort trying to get short-eared owl at Lucky Hammock during January, because there's one there pretty much every year. And we spent a lot of sunrises and sunsets looking for the bird, and we actually got it, but we got no evidence.
Yeah.
And so this bird was our second one we got to see, but we got evidence that we got to see that species. So that was an extra awesome part of that. And
of course, he's cute. Okay.
A kind of unusual bird for May was this glaucous gull. This is a first-year glaucous gull that was at Huguenot Memorial Park in Jacksonville. And, we would expect to see rare gulls in like January and February, but this guy just randomly showed up and stayed for weeks. And it's probably because of how torn up his feathers are from molting. So that was a really cool bird. It's a really big all-white gull. So they're very impressive. It was super cool. And it was very tame. It literally walked up to us. We kept our distance, and the bird just came right up to us. And we're like, okay. Click, click, click. We'll just keep taking photos. Okay.
Do you want to start this one?
All right, I'll start the story.
He's going to start the story, but there's two parts to this one.
In August, there was a South Polar skua reported in Alabama, just over the border, like 8 miles over the border at the beach. And so it was August, so there weren't any rarities to chase at the time. So we decided, let's spend this weekend, let's go look for this bird and get a lifer. I mean, neither of us has seen one. We'll just, it won't count for the big year, but it's a cool bird. Yeah. So we go to Alabama, and it's not there. It's not in its spot. So on our way back, we bird for a couple hours. We come back, and on our way back into Florida, I was like, you know what? Let's just stop at the first place we can in Florida and see if maybe it's flown over the border and we get really lucky. So we stop at this beach. We don't find it. We don't find much of anything really.
Yeah. So we put our gear down. We put our gear down, and we go in the water, and we're just like, all right, and maybe feeling a little like, oh well, let's just enjoy the water right now. And so I think we just basically were turning around and on our way out of the water when he looks up, I look up, and then
it's like, wow.
It's like,
what the? And what comes next is that. And we just see this big, dark brown bird come right over us. Right over us. It looks like a turkey practically. It's so close to us. And as it passes us, we're like, that's the bird! That's the skua! So we go running down the beach. Well, actually, we go running up to our equipment.
Right.
We grab our cameras. Mind you, she's in a bikini, I'm in board shorts. We barely got any clothing on. We grab a camera and the tripod on with a scope on it, and we go running down the beach with that equipment. And literally, mothers are grabbing their children and pulling them away because clear a path for us crazy people running down the beach with all this strange equipment.
We look crazy because we were booking it, okay? We were running. And so he's in front of me. Like I said, I'm from New York. I don't do the sands running, okay? I am not equipped for sands running. He is flying.
I used to play beach volleyball. I was off.
That's new terrain for me. So he was gone. And he's running. And next thing you know, I fall, okay? I fall, and my ankle is busted now, all right? But I'm like, we need to get this bird. It's twisted, kind of, hurting. I don't know. It wasn't fully twisted, but it was busted.
Yeah. So I look back, I'm like, why is she walking?
What is wrong with her? Come on. And I was like, just keep going, save yourself, kind of thing. Go get the bird. I'll be there. And I'm like, oh. And so he finally gets there, snaps some shots, right? And the bird flies into the water. I finally catch up, and I'm like, I hurt my ankle, right? But I'm okay. Just keep taking photos. And then he gets
So the bird is just floating in the water just a few yards offshore. So I go wandering into the water till I could, holding my camera above my head, just like you see in the photo, until I get to the bird, take a few shots. And the photo you see on the right is a completely unedited, uncropped shot.
Yep.
That bird flew right to me as it just went past. And it got so close that it was actually at minimum focusing distance for my camera, which is about 8 feet for that lens. And that
so
was just a magical experience. I mean, who thinks on a beach in Florida in the middle of summer, you're going to find a bird that's named after the South Pole?
Yeah.
Like, just mind blowing. And we told people along the beach, because once we walked back, we were like, so where did you go running at?
Yeah, what was that?
We just saw a bird from the South Pole is what we saw.
And of course, everyone looks at us like, okay. Okay, yeah.
I think this was on my birthday, sometime in September.
Yeah.
We're down in the Everglades again, and we're actually looking for, I think, alder and willow flycatchers at the time. And we're walking along, and all of a sudden, I just hear this sound. And I was like, oh, I know that sound from Bolivia. That's a cuckoo, or an ani. And so I was like, just record. We don't know what the bird is. Just record. Just record. All we need is the proof, because it's diagnostic. And so she records.
Yep. Here we go.
Oh. And so we eventually wander up to the bird to try and see it. And it actually lets us get within like 15 feet.
Yeah,
just hang out with it for a few minutes as it forages through the grass. And that was like maybe a 2-hour wonder bird.
Yeah.
We were still the same. We were there later and couldn't find it. We were there the next morning, couldn't re-find it. Nobody ever re-found that bird. It was just a total happenstance that we were in the right place at the right time, and it was making noise at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, for doing a big year, it's all gone by rules for the American Birding Association, and they have, anything native counts. But they have rules for established exotics that count, and we won't go over the rules there. But we spent the summer mostly focusing on the established exotics because they're here year round, and we don't have to worry about, only getting them during migration. So in one park, we managed to get like 3 or 4 different exotics. 2 of them are the scaly-breasted mumia there on the left. We got them in Miami, but we also got them in Pensacola. And I think we got them in Pensacola first. And then we got red-whiskered bulbul that day. That's a really cool bird. They had some very fun sounds.
Yeah.
If you've never seen one and you're down in Miami, some people kind of are not excited about exotics, but that was a pretty cool bird, even though it is exotic. We also picked up spot-breasted oriole in Miami on my birthday. So that was another cool exotic to get. We saw a bunch of juveniles with some parents, and that was a cool interaction to get to watch. And then we move on to fall migration. My birthday's in September, by the way. So now we're in fall migration.
Okay, so, well, we're weaving this story of, we started from the beginning of the year, not really doing a big year, turning into a big year because things are great and we are pushing along. But things got hard. And so we had a friend tell us that when you hit 300, things get hard. And we were like, 300? We are like past that and things are still fine. We're handling this, we're doing our thing. But things got hard at number 350. So we, this is, as you see the date in September, we were at a point where we were trying to decide, should we stop? Because it was getting tough. I mean, driving from North Florida down, to South Florida every weekend, and like Friday nights were just, as soon as work was finished, was entirely of prepping and getting on the road, and chasing a bird or 2. And so we were physically exhausted, we were mentally exhausted, and it was just,
there's COVID going on.
COVID was happening. It was
political stuff going on.
Right, political stuff, work, school. It's just like everything just came like right down on us. And, we had to decide, like, we put in so much effort for this entire year. We only have 3 months left, and we ended up getting support from the birding community where they were like, just keep going, just keep going. And that's really why we kept going, because all the people that were surrounding us and like rooting us on were like, you're doing, like, really, you're at a good pace, keep pushing. So
shout out to Will and Tim who were here.
Will
We
and
saw
Tim.
you guys. They were some of our supporters. Really pushed us.
Yep. Like, keep going. So bird number 350 is Golden Crown Kinglet. And so Golden Crown Kinglet we got actually here at home.
Literally here at home.
Literally at home. So I'm not a napper. I wish I could sleep. I am a terrible sleeper, and I am definitely not a napper. But that day, like I said, things were nuts. I was taking a nap, and he was working, and one of the rare moments that the window was open at that time. And so, like, I'm kind of in and out of sleep. He hears this call, and I'm like, it kind of woke me up a little bit, like, caught my attention. And then he turns to me like, did you hear that? And I was like, yes, but I don't know. It sounded like what I think it is. And we ended up just running outside. I grabbed the recorder, and next thing you know, Golden Crown Kinglet, which was a bird that we were trying to get. We were having a hard time with that,
we
too.
We thought we had one earlier in the year.
And we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't get any evidence to confirm that we had it.
Like, I knew that by call, I was like, okay, that was a Golden Crown Kinglet, but we didn't have any evidence. And we wanted, like, one of our goals for the big year was to make sure that we had evidence for everything in one form or the other. So we didn't count it the first time that we heard it. But this time it's a really low recording, so you have to kind of listen in.
Turn your volume up.
So that was our very low Golden Crown Kinglet.
We never saw another one again all year. They're usually pretty common around here in Tallahassee during the winter. They're not common, but, like, they're here. And we didn't get one the rest of the year. 3 days after the big year was up, we got another one.
Yep. But when you're driving from North Florida every weekend to bird in South Florida, of course we're not going to get one. So that was also a dilemma. Okay.
So in the fall, flycatchers is one of the big things we ended up picking up. Many of them were unexpected. Alder flycatcher, that was actually on my birthday, September 4th at Lucky Hammond. And we managed to get recordings of that, and we got pictures, and we saw several. For me, that was a lifer. That was like an average Joe bird for Natasza from New York. Same thing with olive-sided flycatcher. She'd seen them before, but I hadn't. And that one was really cool because we had tried for olive-sided flycatcher probably like 6 or 7 times.
Being honest, we gave up on olive-sided. We're not going to get it.
It was from like August and September and October, we were chasing reports of olive-sided flycatcher all across the state, all the way down to Miami even once.
Yeah.
And we'd get there the next day, the flycatcher would be gone. And so we're sitting at work one day, an email comes in, and there's an olive-sided flycatcher here in the Panhandle. So we drove on over there, and we got to the bird, and there were 2 other birders there, but the bird wasn't there. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, I got to go to the bathroom. So I go to the bushes. I had just drank an entire 32-ounce Gatorade. And so I start to finally get that pressure off of my system. And they say, there's the bird!
Yep.
No!
And I'm like, Jim, over here, it's here. And he's like, I'm trying.
My God, there's nothing I can do at this point. I can't kick in the face. There's nothing I can do. I just gotta wait. Just keep the bird there or something. I don't know. And so, I finally finish. I turn around, we get the bird, and we take some pictures of the bird, and then it starts raining, and it's all over.
And that was it. Just like
and
that.
then, wouldn't you know, that olive-sided flycatcher stayed for like a week. Every other olive-sided flycatcher that was seen in 2020 was a one-day wonder, and that one was there for a week. Another overnight drive we had was for this Cuban peewee down on Big Pine Key that got reported.
That stayed for quite some time.
That one stayed like almost the rest of the year, I think.
So in other words, we did not need to drive again overnight. Like it was unnecessary effort.
We actually slept on the side of the road, like across the street from somebody's house, to wake up to find that bird. we didn't know that where we parked was not where everybody else parked. There was a parking lot we didn't know.
Yeah.
We just saw it turn off on the side of the road. We're like, oh, this is a perfect parking spot.
Yeah, we'll sit here.
And we'll just put a tent up here in the dirt. It's perfect.
It's fine.
So some random fall birds that we got, there were like, some of them were cleanups and some of them were random rarities. It's blue-winged warbler frustrated us all year. Spring migration came around, not too many got seen in spring. And so this was one of the very few warblers that we didn't get that we expected to get in the spring. Mm-hmm. And so fall comes around and all sorts of rarer birds are getting seen. So we kept going, all right, we're gonna have to skip the blue-winged report. So we're gonna go for this other rare thing. And then it started getting to crunch time, like, man, they're going to be gone soon. And they're in Gainesville. You guys had like a dozen of them.
Yes.
You guys had them just dripping everywhere around Payne's Prairie properties and the point, I forget the name of, I think it's like Palm Point Park or something like that. You guys just had them everywhere. So finally we're like, okay, this weekend we're going for that. We're gonna chase a blue-winged warbler, which we should be able to get easily just afternoon birding.
Yeah.
And then they were gone from Gainesville.
Yep.
And you guys didn't have any for the rest of the year.
Yep.
We ended up going down to Key West to get the red-legged thrush on the right. And as we go to the entrance, there's a blue-winged warbler.
We're like, yes, finally!
We had to go all the way to Key West to get a bird. We should have been able to get 5 minutes away.
Yep. We did get a blue-winged warbler 5 minutes away from here about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right here.
The Wilson's warbler we ended up picking up in Spanish River Park down in Southeast Florida in the Boca area. And we were actually there for a morning warbler that showed up, and that bird, no, that was the hermit warbler. That's what it was, hermit warbler. Yeah. We went down there. So this warbler is getting seen for multiple days leading up to Friday and stuff. It gets seen Friday. We drive down Friday night. We slept on the beach right outside the park so that we could be there as soon as the park opened, which was at dawn. And the hermit warbler is never seen again. Nope. But we did pick up Wilson's warbler for the year, so we did get a good consolation prize. And we were happy to see that bird. That happened to us in October/November probably 6 times, where we drove down to South Florida to see a bird.
That's been there all week.
Yeah. Got seen on Friday.
On Friday.
Never seen again.
Yep. So yeah, well, here we go. So it's Saturday night. This is one of the extremely rare weekends where it's Saturday night and we are not sleeping in the car or driving, or we're actually home. We are home and we are watching television.
Yeah, we're watching Netflix.
We're watching Netflix. Like, we are not birding. Okay. 7 p.m. We're home and we get a phone call, and basically, literally, it's like, hey, we leave at 6 a.m. Where are you? Oh my gosh, you have got to be kidding me. Okay. So once again, because of COVID, we were not able to do any pelagic trips. Everything was shut down. So finally, someone is like, hey, we're going to do a pelagic. We're going to go and do a small little run, to go look for pelagics. And we had to say yes, because this was our first and one and only time that we were going to be able to get on this boat.
Yep. So it was down at, we were supposed to leave at a Black Point Marina in Miami. So it's like pretty darn far south of Florida. It's almost the Keys.
Yeah.
And on Friday, a tropical storm popped up and blew right over Miami. And so we figured, oh, well, the pelagic was supposed to happen on Saturday originally. Oh, well, that's obviously canceled. The tropical storm blew through. Then we get that phone call.
Yep. So what do? Oh boy, we turn the TV off, we start packing. We don't have anything prepared, but we just know we need to get in this car and we need to start driving. So we drive overnight and we get there, we make it, we're on the boat and we're out there. And I have not been on a small boat like this before, so this far out. And the boat is rocking and I'm fine. Like, I'm like, yeah, I got this. I'm fine. First, what is it, like hour or whatever? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Next thing you know, I'm like, I'm not fine. Okay, something's happening and I am not fine right now. And
she's downplaying the boat rocking. It's 5 to 7 foot seas.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. It was not a pleasant day. So yeah, things went downhill for me really quick, and I start puking, and I am hurling like it is nonstop. But I'm still trying to bird. So like in between vomiting, I'm like, going down, bring the binos up. Going down, bring the binos up. And this is like, because we're doing a big year together, so I have to keep my eyes open, right? So basically it was the long-tailed Jaeger that was off in a distance. They saw one, right? And at this point in time, I'm like giving up.
Oh,
okay?
yeah, let me tell from here. Yeah,
go ahead.
She's practically unconscious.
I'm almost unconscious.
She's in that stage, for anyone that's been seasick, she stopped puking, but she's passing out from being so exhausted from being at sea and stuff like that. So she's in and out of consciousness, just kind of taking naps. And so, earlier we got a parasitic Jaeger. We saw that nice and easy. Got a great shearwater. Saw that nice and easy. And then we spot a long-tailed Jaeger like 150 yards away, and it's gonna pass us. So our captain just absolutely floors it. And we're probably moving like 10, 15 knots in 5 to 7 foot seas, chasing this long-tailed Jaeger that's like 100, 150 yards away. And we're not really getting any closer to it. We're just keeping with it, and we're trying to cut it off to get closer to it. When she looks up and goes, "It's right there behind the boat." And a second long-tailed Jaeger was right in our wake. We had no idea.
Yeah, because they were looking so far, and I was like, I really tried. I was like, I need to look the direction they're looking. Just try one more time. And I was like, I just can't. And next thing you know, like he said, I'm swaying, and I just so happened to open my eyes at that moment in time, and I was like, it's right there. And they turn around, and it's right there, right by the boat. After I said it's right there, I went right back to sleep. I was like, I got the bird. Goodbye, everybody. It was terrible. It was really bad, but
she was a trooper for even putting up with it as long as she did.
It was bad.
It was a very miserable day.
Yep.
You do not, even I got the dry heaves, which is the first time in my life I've ever had any sort of seasickness. And I've even been in 8 to 12 before. And it was bad. It was a really rough day. Not the kind of day you should do a project for comfort, but it sure was good for the birds.
Yep, we got the bird. Okay, second winter. Okay.
Oh yeah, so this was a cool one. This bird was never even on our radar, our savings goal. But at some point in the winter, people start seeing them. This winter was really unusual. All of 2020 was unusual, that we had a lot of onshore winds bring pelagics visible from shore. And it happened very frequently. It happens again. And a guy who's not, from what I understand, I don't know who the person really is, I've never met them, but from what I understand from the story, is a guy who's not like a really serious birder takes a picture of this odd seagull that's eaten his bait at a pier near Cape Canaveral somewhere, and takes a picture, gets into the birding community, and oh my God, there's a savings gull sitting on a pier eating bait from people in Florida. So we go down there. It had been there several days already, so we go down there, and sure enough, you can see the picture on the right. The bird is that is a bait cleaning station that the bird is sitting on, stealing people's bait while they're fishing. Like, it's the bait that they've already cut up that's not on a hook. While they're not looking, it's stealing their bait. And it's just flying right over everybody, just out of arm's reach. Yeah. Just like any other gull you see at the beach in Florida, you would have no idea that this thing was some mega rarity.
And so, we're gonna go get a gull. Okay, so I didn't bring my recorder. Left my recorder in the car, far parking lot and everything. But because it was flying like so close over us, I'm like, do you hear that? It's vocalizing. And I was just like, I can't believe it. I wasn't expecting to, get a recording of a savings gull. So I was like, all right, I gotta go. And so I left, kind of fast walk. I won't say ran, but I was walking fast to the parking lot, grabbed my recorder, came back, and got a recording of the savings gull.
So savings goals are this really interesting, so like the recording is super significant. It's only the third or fourth recording that was ever taken in Florida, and there's only like 20 on Macaulay Library total. And the reason is it is a high Arctic breeder, and usually what happens is it'll migrate across the continent out to sea, and it then continues its migration out to sea. So most coastal birders don't actually get to see this gull because it's out in pelagic waters as it's migrating. And so it was apparently, we had no idea at the time, but it was really rare to even get a recording of the savings gull.
I had no clue.
Because in their breeding grounds, most people just aren't going to, I don't think it's accessible. I think they're just so far out there, it's hard for people to get to.
Yeah. So,
oh, yes.
The Great Race from Nowhere. This was a mess.
So, we've gone down to, now we're in, this is happening in December during Christmas break. So we actually got like, I think it was 10 days of straight birding, which was the only 10 straight days of birding we got the entire year. And we go down to Key West because a common eider has been seen there. We had chased common eider 4 or 5 times earlier in the year, and they just kept disappearing on us. Most of them were just quick sightings and never got seen again. One bird had been seen for several days, and we just didn't get that bird, unfortunately. Well, this one gets seen in Key West, disappears for a couple days, gets seen again, and so we get there like a day after it had been resurfaced. So we go to the spot where it's been seen, which is a tiki bar with a man-made beach.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Okay. That is sandwiched in between 2 high-rise resorts.
Very weird.
And they have their own little dock that has a party drinking tiki boat.
Yeah.
Strangest place to go looking for a bird.
Yeah.
Everybody else there is holding a drink, and we're holding cameras and binoculars.
Yeah.
And so we go to the spot, we don't find the bird. So we're like, all right, well, we'll just keep driving around Key West looking at the water to see if we can find this bird. And we do that all day.
Yep.
And we don't get it. So we're about to leave Key West, and Natasha says, you know what, why don't we check that first spot again? Maybe it's still there and we just didn't see it. So we pull up to the dock.
Yep.
All the drinkers are gone.
I go out on the dock, and I'm like, just looking around, and I'm just like taking a look, and the water is, it's kind of rough. It's getting a little rough there. Next thing you know, I see this head bopping up and down right by the high rise, but like right on the corner of the high rise. And I was like, oh, it's right there. I see it. And then he's like, what? And I'm like, it's right there. And then there was like a mother and son, and they were like, what do you see? And I'm like, a bird. And they're like, okay, it's not that serious. And I'm like, yes, it is. So then, because it had ducked down somewhere, and we couldn't see it anymore. So we were like, we need to get the kayaks. We brought our kayaks, right? So we get the kayaks. We don't even know if we can launch. Okay, we don't know if it's like illegal to launch from here. We're like, you know what? We're just gonna do it, right? So we get the kayaks down. We get in the kayak. We're paddling, whatever. And the water for some reason got really kind of rough. It was weird.
It turned into really
it was really weird. And next thing you know, we see it, and we're trying to get photos of it. He's trying to get photos, but the kayak is like doing this. So, if you've ever been on a kayak with a camera, it's like, how is this going to happen, right? So he manages to get photos, but we're getting pushed around by the kayak. And then eventually—
the photo on the right, by the way, is the photo from the kayak.
Right. That's crucial in this story. I forgot that part. So very crucial in this story. So we're like, all right, we got the photo. Let's just get, because we don't, like I said, we don't know if we are allowed to be here on this kayak. Okay, we are like, borderline, maybe this is illegal. We don't know yet, but we got the picture, we saw the bird. Let's get out of this water before we find out the wrong way, right? So we get out, and we're putting the kayaks on the car, and this guy is like, hey, are you like in the Great Race or something? Like, just to give you an idea of like how frantic and chaotic we were. He was like, are you on some kind of great race or whatever? What was the race?
Are you doing a time trial?
Yeah, time trial or something. We were like, sort of.
Yes. I looked at the guy, I was like, well, kind of. We're doing a big year, trying to find as many birds as possible in 1 year, and that was one of them.
So we're putting the kayaks up, and we're like, all right, we got the bird. Thankfully, we just came back one more time. Next thing you know, okay, this bird, this beautiful eider, okay, shows up right on the shore, right underneath the dock that we ran down, okay? And it was right in front of us.
Yeah.
And that's where the photo from on the left is from. Because
standing on the dock, not in any kind of concern for safety, not about to ruin my equipment with salt water.
Yep.
And it was like, I don't know, 12 feet away versus like 30 yards.
Yep. So once again, if we would have just waited a little bit,
it would have come to us.
We wouldn't have people asking us, "Are you in the great time race?" Okay, so long-billed curlew at Cedar Key. So not one of them, but we got two, which was exciting. And this was really nice because this is one of those relaxing moments. So we got to watch the long-billed curlew basically foraging, and it was just a completely relaxing moment. So we ended up getting a pontoon, renting out a pontoon. I have never been on a pontoon before. So he was driving it and I basically was setting up the scope, and I was like, okay, I'm relaxing. I'm going to look for birds while he's driving. Right. So, we get around to where the long-billed curlew was reported, and I'm like looking through the scope, and I'm like, I see something kind of big there, because they were like oyster catchers and everything. I'm like, I don't want to call it yet, but I do think that's where we need to be. And lo and behold, that's where we ended up getting both of getting the long-billed curlew. But once we got the bird, we relaxed. We were fishing and everything, and I got my first flounder using a piece of kielbasa, so that was kind of fun. I was using kielbasa as bait, and that was a great time. And we also got to see some dolphins and everything. It was just this was definitely one of the nicer days, and it was extra nice because it was at the end of the year. We had kept pushing along, and we were on a pontoon. So now we're like, we need a pontoon funding. So if anyone wants to donate money so we can get a pontoon for real instead of renting one, I'll let you know where you can send the money. Okay.
All right. Our last bird of the year is a bird that is here all year long. We tried more times for Mangrove Cuckoo than any other bird all year. We did at least 14 attempts for Mangrove Cuckoo. We looked for them in Sarasota, where a random one showed up. We looked at them in Ding Darling twice, I think, before this. We looked for them in the Keys. We looked for them in Broward and Dade County. We looked for them everywhere, and we just couldn't come up with one.
And we are reading the reports, and everyone is like, very cooperative bird. Look at these photos we have. And we're like, it is not cooperative because we still don't have it, okay?
We've gone through 1,000 no-see-em bites already.
Yeah.
We don't have a Mangrove Cuckoo to show for it.
Nope.
So we go down to Ding Darling to try one last time, and on December 30th, we finally get Mangrove Cuckoo, and that was our last new bird of the year. And that was bird 386 for Natasha and 388 for me.
Yep.
We spent December 31st looking for black rail back in the Panhandle, but we didn't end up with one.
How about the Iceland gull?
Oh, this is
painful. This is heartbreaking. It's painful.
So where we were looking for black rail, we were there during the morning, and we're looking for black rails or listening for black rails.
Yeah.
Really, we're not looking for it.
Yeah, that's like
effort.
forget it.
And we get an email the next day that day, later on in the day, somebody spotted the first ever for the Panhandle Iceland gull at the exact same spot we were at that morning.
Yep. So that bird was there when we were there.
And we get that email on January 1st.
Oh,
so we didn't get it for we were right there.
We were right there.
I knew the bird was there. And
Yep.
And that one hurt.
Yeah. But we did get it the next day. So well, not the next day, like 2 days after.
Yeah, we got it a few days later.
Yeah.
And then people are asking us, why are you still birding? Don't you guys?
Yeah, like why? Yeah, like why? We're like, this Iceland gull, of course we're gonna bird.
So we've done a little kind of some highlight stuff from the year.
So we're just gonna flip through pretty quick now.
All right, so these are my favorite birds, are the easy ones. So we got several life birds and year birds. literally on our lunch breaks in Tallahassee or near Tallahassee. One of them was on the left there is a first state record Scott's Oriole in a yard in Tallahassee, coming to some guy's jelly feeders. Eventually, the entire state made it up there to go see that bird, but we were the first group of people allowed to go see that bird. A Western Tanager in another guy's yard in Tallahassee that was, I don't know, maybe a mile and a half from my office.
Yeah.
And then we got really lucky with this lesser Nighthawk. We tried the lesser Nighthawk just like the short-eared owl like 6 times down in near the Everglades. People kept seeing them the same day as us sometimes even, and we just couldn't catch that moment where the bird was flying over that same spot. Everybody was seeing it. Well, one morning we got a text from a local birder that says he found a lesser Nighthawk at St. Mark's, which is just 20 minutes from us. It's a regular birding spot for us. And so after work that afternoon, we go down there, we're looking for it, and we're not finding it. And we're actually birding back to back at one point, and I see the bird go across the horizon, like, there it is, where? I give her awkward directions in the middle of a featureless sky. And she finds the bird. I take 2 photos. Those are the 2 photos. And it just so happens that the bottom left photo there, or the bottom photo of the lesser Nighthawk, is just enough to see the white marking on the wing as a little bit different than a common Nighthawk, and it's just in a slightly different spot. And one other birder was there who saw it from a different spot.
And that
Never
was
seen
it.
Again.
It was just the 4 of us that saw that bird that day. So yeah, here we have the great shearwater on the left. Great shearwater is special to us because that was a lifer bird. That was our first lifer bird that we got on our first date. So that was really cool.
And we are still the only people to have ever seen one from Wakulla County.
Yep. So that was during Tropical Storm Nestor. We were out there, and because we were like, we're both kind of nutty, and we're just gonna go out on this like date during a tropical storm and birds. So it was like, okay. And then the South Polar Skua story. So that's another favorite. Magnificent Frigate Bird for me is a favorite because of the story I told you earlier about, Magnificent Frigate Bird is a TV bird for me, so as a child. So that's always going to be a favorite. And this is our Pinky here at St. Mark's, which we saw this bird on our anniversary. So that's also a special bird for us.
And who doesn't love a flamingo?
Yeah, everyone loves flamingos. You got this one.
Florida Scrub Jay. Well, actually, I think that's Natasha's favorite. That one's more Natasha's favorite than my favorite. But it's just one of those cool endemic birds that it was another bird that how's she going to see a Florida Scrub Jay if she's in New York, right? Yeah. So that was a really cool one. Red-breasted nuthatches are just adorable, so that's why that's on the favorite list. They're just super cute. Their yank call is awesome. And our experience with that particular bird in that photo was a really cool one.
Yeah, that was really cool. Least favorite birds. Here we go. So, yep, that's me. Looking a hot mess. So basically we heard about a Western Meadowlark being reported. So usually when we would chase, we would try and get more than just one bird, so we don't spend the day looking for one bird. And so that day we went out looking for a Harris sparrow that was in Washington County. And the Western Meadowlark was in a landfill. Normally, I am not, from being from New York, I don't get cold very easily, and I am usually very prepared. But the day before this weekend, he cleaned out the car, and I am going to blame him for this. Yeah. Full responsibility. Yeah. He cleaned out the car because the car was always a mess. So it was like, okay, I'm thankful that you cleaned out the car, but he also cleaned all of my backup gear and never put it back. So then fast forward to the weekend where I don't have my boots. I don't have an extra shirt. I don't have a jacket, nor do I have any extra long pants to put on because he cleaned the car. It looked great. Okay, I mean, like the car was spick and span clean, but I also had no backup gear. So that's me.
It was in the high 30s that day and about 10-mile-an-hour winds. It was brutal.
Yeah.
We were suffering so bad.
Yeah.
We tried for that Western Meadowlark 3 times. The conditions were miserable every time we went, and we never did get it.
Never got it. So, Townsend's Warbler. That's also a bird that I don't normally say I dislike birds, but this is why we have a difference in numbers. This was during that crucial time where, you know, we had a lot of pressure going on and just being exhausted. And Townsend's Warbler, we tried and never got it. We tried with a group of people again, and they got it right in front of us. We never got it. And then when he went to go try again for it, I couldn't go because I had my, you know, school and work responsibilities. I just couldn't take any time off. And so for me, that's one of the birds that is why we have this number discrepancy, because I just couldn't go. He ended up getting it, but I don't want to see the Townsend Warbler ever.
This bird was really frustrating because, this bird, we're pretty sure it's the same exact bird.
Yeah.
This bird shows up to this tiny, crappy little park in Sarasota that you wouldn't spend 5 minutes in otherwise. And we spent 2 sunrise to sunset days looking at this bird in a park that's 5 minutes to get from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And didn't get it. Nobody got it that weekend. There were like 30 or 40 birders that weekend looking for this Townsend's Warbler. Nobody got it. Magically shows up again in the same park in the fall. And yeah, literally a group of like 5 or 6 birders standing right next to us.
It was like, it's there.
Saw the bird while we're all facing the same direction and we didn't see it.
We didn't see it.
So ended up going back
frustrating.
and got the bird and just was like, I got the bird, bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Greater white-fronted goose is another story where we tried for that bird so many times.
Everyone is like, it's right there. Just look over the gate. No, it's not. It's never over the gate. Okay? It's never there.
We tried 3 times at a golf course somewhere in Central Florida where people were just seeing them like literally from their cars. Natasha saw the same group of birds on November 9th, 2019. And we could not, they just never were in that place for us. And then this bird photographed is in Key West Botanical Garden. Actually, it's at the golf course, which is attached to the Botanical Garden. And everyone's like, oh yeah, you just pull over on the side of the highway and it's right there on the other side of the fence.
That's not true.
Every time we went to Key West, which I think was 4 times, we were looking for this bird and we only found it on the last try. So December 28th or something, we got the bird. And then Vo Swift, you in Alachua County and Gainesville, you all know the struggle of the Vo Swift.
Yep.
It is the most underwhelming rifle you'll ever have because it's just a flash of a bird that goes into the chimney and that's it. That's all you get.
And he missed it the first time.
Yeah.
So we were sitting out there and we're focused on that chimney. I'm looking at the chimney, focused, and we're just like, boom, looking at it. And next thing you know, he turns his head just a little bit to take his eyes to like look just a little bit to the side. And right at that moment, I was like, that is boom. And it was gone. And he missed it.
Yeah. So I had to go back the next week by myself and go get that one.
Okay, craziest places we slept.
Yeah, so we thought this would be fun.
In a lot of crazy places.
So I guess we haven't really said this. We did what you might call extreme budget birding. We never slept in a hotel. Only in January did we get to sleep in any friends' houses because of the pandemic. So we either camped or slept in the car the entire year. And that led to some interesting stories. So that's actually our tent on Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. We slept on the beach in several places. Siesta Key is one of those places. It's open 24 hours. And people are always on the beach, so that's super cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
Waking up to the sunrise and the sound of the waves is amazing. I highly recommend sleeping on the beach one way or another if you can.
Yep.
But the Titusville KOA
don't
for
go
Christmas
there.
Eve.
Don't go there.
Not yet. Don't go there.
Go there.
I have camped all over the state of Florida. I have over 400 nights in a tent in Florida. And the absolute worst place I have ever been camping is the Titusville KOA. It's almost nearly permanently occupied.
Yeah, they have cat colonies there. Like it was like
there's cat colonies.
What?
There's RVs that literally have lichen growing off of them. There's makeshift tents like you're in like a homeless shelter kind of thing. And
yeah, it was very, very shady. And like it was shady to the point that we pitched our tent and I was like, let's pull the car up close to the tent because like we're not leaving the car on the side and we needed to be close by. And normally in the morning I like to have my coffee. That morning we woke up, I was like, there's no coffee today, let's leave. We packed out in like 5 minutes and we were out of there. It was like, no coffee today, we gotta go, we have to get out here, it's dangerous. Don't go to that KOA ever.
One night, after getting that thick-billed vireo in the Keys, we slept in the car under a bridge in the Keys.
Yep.
Which was actually kind of nice, but odd place to sleep under a bridge.
Yep.
Probably the favorite of the year for me is we slept in a puddle in a tent in another tent on my birthday. So for my birthday, we go down to South Florida and we did some birding and then we were going to do a fishing trip for my birthday. And the night before the fishing trip, we had friends joining us. And so one of our friends brings this like a 12-person condo tent. It's
like an apartment building tent.
It's like it's a Walmart. It's enormous. It's probably 15 feet by 15 feet. And so we just dropped our tent inside that tent. But they don't have a rain fly for the big tent. And we get hit with a freak flash thunderstorm in the middle of the night that just completely floods us. Yep. And there's nothing we can do about it. We tried to get the rain fly on. It wasn't working. We're in like extreme thunderstorm winds with a giant tarp that's basically a sail. And we ended up, all 5 or 6 of us, we literally just had to sleep on the ground in the water. Yeah. Because all the rain came into the big tent. The tent has a bottom on it, so it held all the water. And everybody just slept wet that night.
Yep.
Oh wait, we missed one.
Oh yeah. That was when for the thick-billed.
That was yeah.
Yeah. So we drove overnight for the thick-billed vireo, and we made really good time. I mean, we got in the car, we left North Florida, we got down there. It was about 3 a.m. We're like, oh, we got a great time. We could sleep for about 2 hours before we can start looking for this bird. So we park in front of the park, and
Okay, hold on. For Florida people, we're on the side of US 1 in the Keys.
Okay, that's good.
That's super important for you to know.
Right. So we're on the side and we're sleeping. We think it's fine, no big deal. Next thing you know, there's like this light flashing into the car. And I'm like, what is that? It's the police. Oh my gosh, no. So officer was like, you need to get out the vehicle. We were like, oh no, okay. Oh no, right? So we get out. He was really nice. He was like, look, I understand what you're doing. I get it, but you should go to this parking lot and you can sleep there and come back in the next 2 hours or something, but you cannot stay here because it's dangerous. So he was really nice about it. But it was kind of scary because it was like, you can't sleep here, so I get it that you're doing these weird bird things, but you can't sleep here. Okay, moving on to rare birds.
Okay, yeah, so, you want to talk about this? You want me to?
You can go.
Okay, so the Hannum's flycatcher was a 2nd state record or 3rd state record, I believe. This mountain bluebird, which is on top of the fence post there, was a 2nd state record bird as well. The Scott's Oriole on the left was a 1st state record. Black-faced grassquit was like an 8th state record or something like that. Red-legged thrush was a 3rd state record. Cuban peewee, I think, was also like an 8th state record or something like that. So then we get into a different definition of rare. Birds are, because, for birders, rare just means rare where you live. Mm-hmm. But then there's birds that are truly rare, like endangered or threatened birds. And, us birders tend to not pay as much attention to those because, those kind of rare birds, they live wherever they're rare. And so they can be generally easy to find. So like whooping crane, I think everybody knows the stories of whooping cranes and how they almost became extinct and they came back. So that's a rare bird. And then Florida scrub jay, endemic to Florida, should be our state bird.
Yep.
So that's another, rare bird that's, if you're a Floridian, just go to the scrub and find one. But it's, truly a rare bird in terms of conservation.
So yeah, we have some favorite recordings. This one was recorded in Bottoms Road up here in Wakulla County. This is Seaside Sparrow. Oops. This one here is in the Everglades, recorded at Chuck Will's widow in the Everglades. And so the short story behind this is, once again, we're tired, okay? He was driving at the time. I was sleeping. I have a habit of sleeping with my recorder. Even in the house, sometimes I sleep with, depending on the season, I can sleep with the recorder in the bed with me, just in case, you hear something at night. So we're in the Everglades because that's what normal people do. They sleep with recorders. and so he pulls over and I am very sleepy, turn my recorder on, and we get up out of the car and got this really great, I really love this recording of Chuck Will's widow. So this here, we were out at Huguenot.
I'm gonna tell the story because you're gonna lie. This is actually when we went for the Glaucus Bowl. It's a Huguenot Memorial Park.
Oh, I know where he's going with this.
The recording is fantastic. And like, that's so loud, it's like ear piercing, right? Well, that recording is one of the ones that Merlin uses on their app.
He's always putting me on the spot. Stop.
They use several of her recordings as the ones you'll hear on the Merlin Bird ID app. So yeah, shout out to Natasha for being awesome at that.
He's always putting me on the spot. All right, favorite photos. So female black scoter and American oystercatcher. Most of these are his photos. I don't know if you want to tell any stories behind that.
No, they're just really good photos. Most of the time during the big year, we're just trying to get evidence.
Yeah.
We're not trying to take the nicest shots necessarily.
Yeah.
We're always in a rush. So, every once in a while we got some really nice shots.
Yeah. Hobnotty, piping plover. Our buddy Vermilion flycatcher, thick-billed vireo. And the end of the year stats, we are at the end now. And
so we ended the year with 386 for Natasha, 388 ABA countable species. So that includes native birds and established exotics. And that the 388 officially broke the Florida Big Year record.
we had, I'm gonna say it, I just have to. We had another bird, yeah, we had several, but this one in particular, we were counting. We were very confident with the ID, and it was a Pacific loon that we had found, we had verified, and so forth. But
we thought we had it verified.
We thought we had it verified. But like we said earlier, one of the biggest things for us was the accountability of the big year and having evidence and having people agree with, like, yeah, you're right, this is confirmed. And so we had some, not a lot of pushback, but we did have enough pushback to kind of say, we don't want to take this Pacific loon off of our list, but we also want to keep a certain level of integrity, which was important to us. And we didn't want anyone questioning. That same bird was confirmed by other birders.
Yeah. Somebody saw the bird at the same exact time from us.
The same exact time, but
location.
Exactly. So there was a bit of discrepancy, and it was a little bit of like, but we did keep it off the list, but yeah.
On eBird, it was $393, $395. We had documentation for 373/374. The other one being that Townsend's warbler.
Yeah.
There were 18 species we only had audio evidence for. 10 birds that were ABA code 3, 4, or 5 rarities. This I thought was a really interesting statistic. We had 8 species that we only saw in people's yards.
Shout out to everyone.
Yeah, that we saw in no other yard,
Yep.
no other place, just in people's yards.
Yep.
And we had 7 species that were heard only, that we never actually saw the bird, we only heard it. And I think in every one of those cases, we have audio evidence.
Yeah.
So if you want to see our list, we had made a huge undertaking of creating a spreadsheet. You can see all of the birds, all 388. There's links to our eBird checklist, and on the spreadsheet, there's what type of evidence we have for it, if we got audio and or photo, and if we have description only.
Yep.
And there's also some other statistics on there, like if it was a review bird by Florida Ornithological Society, we noted that too. So tinyurl.com/FLBigYear2020, you can see all the birds that were our big year list.
Yeah. And on
as far as we know, no one's ever done that before.
Yeah.
For any level of big year that we're aware of, to actually publicly supply a list.
Yeah. So, and on that note, thank you. This is our last slide with some fun pictures from the year. And if anyone has any questions or comments, we are ready for them.
Yeah, that was your enthusiasm is very infectious. I can't see myself heading out to do it, but I would definitely watch that again. That was very good. With the now that COVID's, well, it's sort of breaking and things opening up again, would you consider doing this again?
So
You won't do it.
yeah, absolutely not under the conditions we had.
Yeah.
If we were not full-time employed and living in North Florida, with those 2 conditions, no. If we lived in South Florida and we were working like part-time or had more free time to actually be able to break.
If I wasn't in school.
Yeah, if you wasn't in school, then maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But we did 60,000 miles inside the state of Florida.
Yeah.
We made an estimated 20 trips to South Florida from Tallahassee, which are 6 to 7 hour drives, 9 if it's Key West. And so with those conditions, no, absolutely not, wouldn't do it again. But if we could be a little better off financially, living in South Florida and have more free time.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. It's maybe for me.
Maybe for him. It's definitely for me. Like I would definitely do it again. Just not under the restraints and conditions that we had. But I would definitely again. He's like, I don't know if I do it in, but I definitely would. Because even now, like when I see like the list coming up, the rare bird reports, like I get this urge of like, oh man, I want to go chase, but
Yeah.
So
I prefer we went to like a tiny Caribbean island that's like 10 miles across. It doesn't take all day to travel across. That'd be the ideal big year place for me.
How much room do you think there is for improvement? I mean, that's a lot of birds already. We kind of know that answer. There are 37 other species seen during 2020 that we did not get.
Yeah.
So 400 is very possible, and we truly believe if we had been living in South Florida,
we would have
gotten 400.
Like for certain.
Yeah, even with the full-time working, if we had been in South Florida where we could take a 1 hour drive to go see a bird, I think we would have been hitting 400.
Definitely.
And if COVID hadn't shut us off from pelagics, 400 is well within reach there.
Yep.
It takes just dedication, driving, and craziness.
Emphasis on craziness.
Yeah, you just got to be insane for the birds.
You just have to be.
Like, Tim, I know you're listening. Like, if Tim wanted to do a Florida big year, he's got the dedication.
Yeah.
He would definitely be able to take us.
Do it, Tim.
You need to start a GoFundMe. I'd chip in. I'd like to see that again. Give you another shot at it.
Yeah, that would be, just not living in North Florida. That was it. Yeah. I mean, it got to a point that it was like, there were sometimes we were thinking like, we're doing more driving than birding. And that was getting frustrating. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of was like, but yeah, if under different conditions, definitely would do it. I definitely would do it.
Yeah. All right.
You don't have to do it alone.
We have a few questions here. Tina wants to know how many lifers did you get respectively during this exercise?
We made note on our list, but we don't
Yeah.
have an exact count.
Yeah.
And it would be different for both of us anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
because,
Yeah.
because in
But-
New York, there's certain birds that I got here. I mean, I'm not going to see a magnificent frigate bird.
Yeah. So a lot of birds were like state birds for her that weren't necessarily lifers and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I would guess that like I got maybe like, I don't know, between like 50 and 80 lifers and like 100 state birds.
Yeah.
Just roughly guessing, but I don't know how accurate.
Yeah, I wouldn't know my number. I have to look at the sheet.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Tina would also like to know what equipment were you using for those great photographs?
So we were both using a Nikon D610 camera, which is like a almost 10-year-old full frame camera now. And we both have a 300 millimeter f4, but she had the older version and I had a less older version. And so we bought both of them used. And then now there's a newer version that's like a couple grand new. So 300 millimeter f4 lenses and Nikon D610. Tell them about the recording equipment you have.
So I use a Tascam recorder. I used to use a Marantz, but Tascam, I would never switch to another company as of now. Tascam recorder, and then I have a stereo mono mic, which is a Sennheiser. It's ME66. They have a 67, but the 66 works fine. And actually now I have a parabolic mic, which was a nice Christmas present. But yeah, Tascam recorder and Sennheiser microphone mono mic, ME66.
Great, thank you. I mean, I'm going to look it up, but I'm not going to be able to afford to buy either one of those things. But what was that? We know that Natasza didn't see the Townsend. What was the other bird that she didn't see?
Oh, bandrump storm petrel.
Yes.
That was a really hard bird for me to list. So we were pelagic sea watching at Canaveral somewhere, and I was on the scope at the time. We would always like shuffle back and forth between the scope. By the way, shout out to
Koa.
They sponsored us, got us a great deal on the scope and stuff like that, and were very helpful for us. Shout out to Koa. We highly recommend their scopes.
Yep.
We got to try several scopes throughout the year. The Koa is definitely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so I was on the scope and 3 storm petrels flew by and they just blasted by in maybe 15 seconds or so, maybe 30 at tops. And I didn't get off of that. I was trying to get the ID and didn't get the ID fast enough to get her on the bird. And then, we scoured through the guides for like an hour and websites and stuff like that. And, based on what I was able to see, I was able to figure out that I was pretty sure it was bandrump storm petrel. I actually didn't list it for like a couple of weeks. And then
I told him, I was like, just list it. It was just a matter of it really was just a matter of, sometimes, we only have one scope, so we have to share, we're sharing the scope. And it just so happened to be that, it was that time that he got on the scope, I was using binos and the birds flew by and that's it. And he didn't want to list it. And I was like, just list it, because.
So if you actually go to our spreadsheet and go to the checklist for that, I actually had put the description that I put that day, live into eBird, and then thought about it for a couple of days afterwards and then put another description and it ended up getting confirmed on eBird. And so once it was confirmed, I decided, okay, I'll list it.
How much interaction did you have with the eBird reviewer for all these rare birds you were putting?
We had a lot of interaction.
A lot.
Interaction.
Yep.
We know several of them by name now.
I would imagine.
We have phone numbers for.
Yep. But that was the nice thing about the big year. If we didn't do a big year, we definitely would not have met the new friends that we have. That's just the bottom line. I mean, maybe we would have met 1 or 2 of them or something like that. But in the big picture, if we didn't do this, we definitely wouldn't have the network that we have now, and meet so many wonderful people through it. So
yeah, the eBird reviews are really good for us,
Yeah.
because we did have, like anybody who's birding, we did have a couple false identifications, and they told, hey, that's not that bird, and so
Yeah.
all right, well, we got to go find it in another spot then.
Yeah.
We'll try again. So it was great to have them keeping us in check, and we were
Yeah.
posting on social media too, and sometimes we have people keep us in check through that.
Yeah.
So that was great, because it kept the integrity level up, and it made us refine our skills and really work hard
Yeah.
for it.
Definitely a way better birder now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So much
Yeah,
fun.
especially for me as for ear birding.
Yeah, he picked it up.
Natasha is the best ear birder I have birded with. And she's a phenomenal birder, one of the best birders overall I've ever been with. But as far as ear birding, the only person I've ever seen that holds a candle to her is Jay McGowan at Cornell University. And so
He's always putting me on the
I,
spot.
she's got their program, she knows all that stuff, the spectrograms and stuff. I'd never looked at a spectrogram in my life before. And so I learned a lot about bird sounds and ear birding that year from Natasha and from the guides that we used for that.
Yeah. Yes, it sounds like all the contacts you made were also a good resource for finding these rare birds too. It sounded like they were.
Yeah. So, that's another thing I usually say at the end is, a big year is not a single birder or couple birding.
It's
event.
a community.
It is a statewide, or wherever your region is. It is a
It's a
community-wide event,
community.
because you can't be in all the places at all the times to know where all the birds are. So if it weren't for eBird, we certainly could not have gotten that
Nope.
number. If it weren't for some Facebook groups too, and a couple people who don't like anything more than telephones for technology, there are definitely birds we would never have even had any idea were in the state.
Yeah, because we would get call, like, hey, we have, XYZ maybe over here, come over. And yeah, without that communication and without that community doing a big year, it would be interesting to see how far someone could get without the communication versus with the communication.
Yeah. So like for context, the number to beat for many years was David Simpson's 365.
Mhm.
That was in 2001, I believe.
Yeah.
So he did that pre-eBird, almost pre-internet for most people and stuff like that. And he basically would have only been working off of networking and contacts and
knowing patterns,
phone calls and stuff like that, and his own extensive knowledge.
Mhm.
Being honest right now, I don't know if we would hit the 365 without internet sources helping us know where birds are.
Yeah.
I don't know if we would have hit 365 without that.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have made it a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And then just so that I don't leave some people out, there was another gentleman, I don't know his name because he hasn't officially put it on ABA's website, but like everybody knows that he hit 367. I think that was like somewhere in the late 2000s or early 2010s. And then another couple, I'm blanking on their name, that's so bad. The couple whose record we beat.
Oh, you mean the one?
The Warrens, yes.
Yeah.
Jennifer and Erie Warren, they had the record of 387 that we beat by one, or that I guess I beat by one. I don't like saying it that way. I like to say we beat it because
that was a team effort for sure.
99.9% of the time, she was there with me. And
I blame it on the Townsend. Stands Townsend Warbler.
Yeah, and so we managed to just beat them by one.
All right, well, one last question. I think it's a good one to end on. Karen wants to know what exactly is going on in that bottom center photograph.
Bottom?
That one with the red. Where I'm wearing a red shirt.
Yeah.
That is actually me rescuing a cormorant that got hooked by a fisherman.
Yeah.
That was a day that we picked up black scoter and surf scoter and salt marsh sparrow. Yeah. And while we were looking at a salt marsh sparrow, a guy happened to hook a cormorant, so I helped him get the cormorant off the line.
Yeah. The cormorant bit him.
Yeah, the cormorant got its revenge.
Yeah,
a little blood.
So I had to pull out the first aid kit.
Well, that was great. Thank you very much. That was really the time just flew by. So If you do come up with that GoFundMe, let the Alachua Audubon Society know, and we'll get a fund going for you. And then
don't instigate us.
Yeah.
Don't instigate us. At least don't instigate me, because I was like, we want the pontoon. We want that pontoon funding.
we'll just concentrate on getting Tim going, so that would at least be pushed.
Yeah, we'll push the next person. If anybody wants to do a big year and wants advice, even if you're not you're doing Florida, you do some other region or whatever, definitely contact us. We'd love to help out.
Yeah.
We've actually been in constant communication with a guy from Maine who's doing a big year now.
Yeah.
His number to beat, I think, is 317, and he's at like 306 right now.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he is. He's doing a phenomenal job getting all sorts of cool birds. Listen to this. Oh, okay. So you guys will be excited to hear that somebody has done this. He's a software engineer. He developed his own private app that mines eBird and sends him a notification every time a bird he needs is sighted in Maine.
Amazing.
It sends a live notification to his phone with a checklist and the point on the map and everything. Brilliant.
We
Probably spent the first couple weeks of the year working on that, so he's setting himself up. Well, thanks again. It was great.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, and we really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
Good night, everybody.